There are rumors spreading around the nation. John Adams and George Washington are shaking their heads. Now tell us what Thomas Jefferson did this time and how it relates to Joe Rogan. Welcome once again to Floating Skills. Anthony Merry, a British minister, was in utter disbelief as he stood in the president's residence. Merry traveled from London to the States to give the U.S. president with his credentials. Standing there in his jammies and slippers was Thomas Jefferson. It was the year 1803. The British minister had been presented to the president by James Madison, the Secretary of State. Merry had dressed in formal gear since he thought this was an important occasion. The British minister had been sporting a full diplomatic uniform, blue dress coat with gold braid, a plumed hat, white breeches with white silk stockings, and a dress sword. The British took their outfits seriously. Jefferson didn't feel quite the same way. Merry had been disgusted with Jefferson's utter slovenliness. Jefferson couldn't care less though. Here is a quote from Merry's actual report. I, in my official costume, found myself at the hour of reception he had himself appointed, introduced to a man as President of the United States, not merely in an undress, but actually standing in slippers down to the heels, and both pantaloons, coat, and underclothes indicative of utter slovenliness and indifference to appearances, and in a state of negligence actually studied. This wasn't a rare occurrence either. When the senator of New Hampshire, William Plumer, traveled to the president's house, he was greeted by a man in an old brown coat and slippers. This was Jefferson, of course, but the senator thought it was a servant. Jefferson thought both Washington and Adams had followed the British lead a bit too much. He was of the opinion that they'd acted too much like kings. Jefferson was irritated by kings, to say the least. So, Jefferson was determined to change things. In his eyes, the revolution had been an end to tyranny and the days of fancy titles, intricate regalia, powdered wigs, and other aristocratic nonsense had passed. He believed that he was just another voting member of the Republic. After defeating Adams in the election of 1800, Jefferson was determined to show everyone what true democratic republicanism looked like. And he succeeded. Jefferson was adored by his admirers. They admired his down-to-earth demeanor and style of governing the United States of freedom. He had a reputation as a man of the people. It's crucial to remember that Jefferson wasn't always this way. Jefferson served as the American minister plenipotentiary in France for 5 years. A plenipotentiary is a diplomatic representative with complete power and authority who was subordinate to an ambassador. During Jefferson's time in Paris, he made the rounds visiting and speaking with the French aristocracy. In order to do so, he would have had to dress with the utmost elegance and class. So, Jefferson's way of dressing while in office appears to be purposeful. He wanted to be seen as a man of the people. So, Jefferson's choice of attire while in office seems deliberate. He sought to project the image of a man of the people. What's the best method to go about doing that? Jefferson wasn't always a slob, though. He was merely using looks to increase his influence. Anyone else performs this? A Joe Rogan. Because the audience can relate to Rogan, it's no surprise that the Joe Rogan Experience is the most popular podcast in the world. He typically wears everyday clothes and doesn't give much thought to his look. The outcome? Many supporters because of relatability. Rogan has strong cause to believe in the average person. People are smarter and more inquisitive than we frequently give them credit for. Rogan has figured this out, and his strategy has proven to be pretty effective. Elon Musk is another guy who favors less formal attire, and he has had the same experience as Rogan. Many people think of Musk as a man of the people. Although there is undoubtedly more to Jefferson, Rogan, and Musk's success than their clothes, don't ignore it. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.